Hey everyone, Tim here from CubeKing77.com here to finally do a review video on the Motorola Photon Q4G LTE on Sprint. I've been using it for a while now and I've got a lot of good thoughts to talk about it. It isn't all things that I just like. There are things about it I don't like, so I'll be covering all that very stuff. This will be part one. I'm going to be doing a two-part video, so be sure to check out part two after you watch this part. Let's go ahead and check out the device though. Alright, and here is the device itself. You will notice it does have a 4.3 inch display here, which does feel slightly smaller since I'm more used to the larger screen sizes such as on the Galaxy S3. But 4.3 inches is still a decently large screen size, so nothing wrong with that. On the front you got some sensors, a front-facing camera. Otherwise on the sides, I do want to talk about hardware, but while I do talk about hardware, I'm going to go ahead and power on the phone so you guys can kind of see how long it does take to boot up. It does take a bit of time. Most Motorola phones do. On the left side here, you have a micro USB slot to charge the phone connected to your computer, along with an HDMI Out slot, which is great. I do demonstrate HDMI Out. You will have to purchase the cable separately if you are interested in using this feature, but I will link to the video where I demonstrate HDMI Out. So that's it for the left side. Still booting up. Here on the right side here, we do have some buttons. We have a dedicated camera button, which I love having. That's a great feature on a smartphone. You have volume rockers. You also have a slot for a micro SD card. Up to 32 gigabytes supported, so there would be a slot for a micro SD card slot. It's nice, you don't have to pull out the battery, and the phone is booted on, so if you're keeping track of how long it did take to boot up, it is now booted up. On the back here, you do have a speaker, which is great for audio quality. Audio quality has been very good. You can get it to be very loud, which I like, which some people have actually commented on, so when I play some music with some people, they'll say, wow, that's really loud for a phone, and it's true. It definitely gets up there in sound. 8 megapixel camera on the back, which shoots 1080p. I haven't done a test 1080p video. I will get to that soon, hopefully tomorrow, with LED flash as well. On the bottom, you just have the standard microphone. Up at the top, you have power button right in the middle on the top, and a headphone jack, 3.5mm headphone jack on the top. So overall, though, it's very sturdy. That's for sure. Motorola always is known for their pretty good build quality. It feels pretty thick than what I'm used to, obviously, since it does have a QWERTY keyboard, which I will get to in just a second. But it is pretty heavy as well. That keyboard really adds some bulk, really adds some weight as well. So to be honest, this device, I'm going to go ahead and say it straight up right away. I wouldn't really necessarily recommend this phone to someone unless they really wanted a QWERTY keyboard. The reason I'm saying this is just because the keyboard is great. Honestly, I really like this keyboard. It is by far my favorite hardware keyboard on an Android device, by far. I will cover it more in just a little bit. I do want to talk about some internal stuff. It does have 8 gigabytes of internal storage, so without needing a micro SD card, you can use 8 gigabytes of internal storage, which is not all that much. So not too many songs can take up that 8 gigs of storage, so I do recommend getting a micro SD card if you don't have one. It does have a 1.5 gigahertz dual core processor, which definitely competes up there with the best of them. That's a very nice processor for sure. It runs Android 4.0.4 Ice Cream Sandwich. Jelly Bean is the latest, so it is not on the latest software version of Android. Motorola is not very good at pushing out updates as well, so just kind of keep that in mind if you're thinking about purchasing this device. Screen quality, it is a 4.3 inch screen. It is okay. I wouldn't say it's amazing or anything insanely good. It's got something called color boost technology, which is supposed to make the colors really pop. I wouldn't say it does. I mean, I prefer the Evo LTE along with the Galaxy S3 screen over this one. So, I mean, colors are fine. Everything is just okay. I wouldn't say it's bad. I wouldn't say it's good. It's just okay. The screen with various colors and the looks of it, it's nothing amazing. And finally, it has 1 gigabyte of RAM. This is on the Sprint network, so it does have LTE as well. I haven't been able to test LTE since it has not come into any of my areas yet, so that is one thing that I cannot test is LTE connection on this device. But let's get back to that hardware keyboard that I was talking about. You will see it is a 5-row full QWERTY keyboard. It does have a dedicated number row up at the top, which I love having. It's great having that dedicated number row along with these arrows. Some of you may not realize it, but having those arrows is great if you want to go back and forth. You don't have to touch the screen at all when you type. You'll also notice that it's not lit up right now. It's actually a pretty cool feature of the phone. The keyboard backlight does not come on if the sensor realizes that you're in a bright light situation and you can see the keys. If I cover up the sensor, the light on the keyboard should turn on. So we will see if I can do that. There you go. You will notice the backlight of the hardware keyboard did turn on when I covered up that sensor, and it will turn back off once more light comes into the sensor and it turns off that LED light. So that's something that can save battery. It does have a 1750 milliamp hour battery. It is a non-removable battery. Unfortunately, you cannot take that battery out. That is definitely a downfall of this phone as well. I love being able to remove the battery for any various reasons. If you want to expand it, get an extra one. That's one of the great features about Android, and I'm not sure why Motorola is deciding to get rid of that. But anyways, the battery life has been good. To be honest, it's definitely up there. It's not as good as the Galaxy S3 or the Evo 4G LTE. It still is good though. It can pretty much last me just about all day without charging. You will see up at the top here. I haven't used my phone all that much, but battery is getting pretty low. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So let's go to settings, battery, and you'll see I've been on it for 10 hours and I'm at 28%. That gives you a good idea. I didn't use it all too much. I only have 45 minutes of screen on time, so that's not a lot at all. So I would say it could probably last me, if I use it normally, about 10 hours on the battery, which pretty generally will last you just about all day, so that's nice to have. Let's say I want to give a quick demonstration of that hard keyboard, that hard physical keyboard right here. So it does have auto correction, which you can turn on. You can mess with in the settings if you like it. If you don't like it, you will see suggestions will also come up down here that you can select, which I love because you don't necessarily need to, with autocorrect, let's say I want to say hello and I say HEKLO, you will see hello is there. I can hit space and it will autocorrect it for me. Hello will get there, so I don't even have to touch the screen. I can just continue to type. So that's very nice. Honestly, the main selling point of this device is this keyboard itself. And so that is something that they should definitely have focused on when compiling this device, as I wouldn't say anything else really stands out for this device, but the QWERTY keyboard is phenomenal. So if you are on the border, you're someone that really likes a QWERTY keyboard, I would definitely go check it out for yourself because I really love this QWERTY keyboard. It did take me a little bit of a while to get used to. Sorry about that. A little bit of a while to get used to the key placements. I wasn't necessarily used to where the letters were, but I am now. So just after using it for a while, of course, you're getting some practice. So if I wanted to say hello there, how are you doing? Question mark. I got used to it pretty quickly. Again, I love using the number row. The number row is not necessarily difficult to get to, but maybe if you have bigger fingers, you might have a little bit of difficulty pressing some of the numbers with it being close to the top part of the phone right there. I haven't had any issues with that, but just kind of keep that in mind. You have an enter, you have tab, caps locks. If you do turn on caps lock, you will see a little light there that does turn on and let you know that caps lock is on. Again, obviously caps lock will allow you to yell to add someone through text messaging. You also have a symbols button, which can go ahead and use any symbols. You press the symbol and it's going to go ahead and bring a bunch up. You can hit the shift key and use any of the yellow keys that are on there. So if I wanted to say pound. So that's just about all I wanted to talk about with the keyboard. It does make a little bit of noise when you press keys. It's not terribly loud though, so you're really not going to get a keyboard that necessarily doesn't make noise unless it's an on-screen keyboard, obviously. But overall, I really like the spacing of the keys. I like the feel of them when I press the buttons, so definitely a phone to consider if you are a physical keyboard person. Now let's go ahead and talk about some software on the device. You will notice you do have 3 on-screen buttons. You have back, home, and recent running apps. Recent running apps will open up a list of applications you have run recently. You can quick multitask with these. You can swipe them away if you don't use them. The recent running apps list has been very smooth for me, and I haven't had any issues with scrolling up and down, multitasking. I wanted to open up email, if I want to go back to messaging. you'll see I can quickly jump between those two applications. If I would like to go back to home, I press home. I can hit the back button as well to exit out. Having on-screen buttons is definitely a different experience. If you're not used to them, if you're used to capacitive buttons being on the bottom of the device, it's definitely different. It takes a little bit of a while to get used to, especially when you're using the physical keyboard to type. So if I wanted to add a message and use the physical keyboard, you will kind of need to get used to making sure you don't go below the space bar, which doesn't take too long to get used to, so don't let that frustrate you right away. Just using some practice will allow you to get used to not pressing the home button. You will notice that Motorola did include a manufacturer overlay over Android 4.0.4 Ice Cream Sandwich, just their own tweaks and various look to the OS, and which is a little unfortunate. Some people don't like manufacturer overlays, some do. Motorola has done a good job at keeping it very minimal, in my opinion. You will see home screen wise, you do get right out of the box, you only get one home screen, and when you swipe over to the right side, you have an option to add a page. You can add a blank page, or you can start with a certain template. You'll see I have 3 pages right here, my basic home one, another one, and another one there. So you can pinch in and it brings up all of your pages. You can go through and quickly go between them, which is a nice little neat feature. That doesn't come with the stock ice cream sandwich experience. These have been added features with certain applications such as the dialer, the text messaging application, along with the browser. I believe the email application as well. You can actually, from the icon, you can swipe up and it will bring up a list of certain things. For example, the browser is going to bring up a bunch of bookmarks, so you don't really need a bookmark widget as long as you have that icon there, because you can just swipe up from that icon and it brings up those bookmarks. If you have text messages, you can swipe up from those and it's going to go ahead and give you a list of them. You can go quickly into them. And phone, it brings up your call log, which I'm not going to show you because I have numbers on there that I don't need you to see, but it does bring up the call log. I also want to mention, you'll see active smart actions, low battery saver has been activated, which isn't, it's a very trivial feature on the device. Some people it might come in handy. For me it doesn't, but for some people it might. We can go ahead and check out those smart actions. You can add certain things to do. For example, I think if my battery's at 15% or something, it will do something. I can't remember. Let's take a look at what my low battery saver is. If it's under 25%, it's going to turn my brightness low, it's going to turn GPS off, and it's going to do something with background data as well. It's going to only sync apps when you launch them. So that's something that happens when I have low battery, which is nice because with brightness low, it's going to help save battery. You can add and subtract certain rules. You can have a custom one. You can have a sleep rule. Adjust your ringer at night so you can sleep soundly, so you can have your ringer turn off when you are asleep. Drive smart. Things that happen when you are driving. Good. I am glad this has happened because it doesn't happen everywhere. Where I live, what I'm talking about here is, oh, you missed it. Dang it. I wish I could have showed you that, but it said mobile IP response error. You get that at least 2 or 3 times a day, and it doesn't matter where you're at, what your signal strength looks like, and it's kind of annoying. So that's just kind of something. I don't know if it's an issue with the device. I believe it is because I haven't gotten it on any other phone, and it happens again 2 to 3 times a day, which can get very annoying. So it's a little bug. Other things, again, I don't necessarily like everything about this phone. There's other things I don't like. There have been times when the screen will just randomly glitch, and it will do things like this. It'll just kind of move the screen back and forth. If I'm in a list, it'll move the list up and down, and the only thing I can do is just turn the screen off, turn it back on, and it gets fixed, which is not too big of a deal, but it can get a little bit annoying. Anyways, more with the launcher. Go to your app drawer. You will see it is combined with your widgets, just horizontal swipe, which looks just like stock ice cream sandwich. Those transition animations, you go straight to your widgets, so you can go over, you just press and hold on one of your widgets and add it to your home screen. There's a Drive Smart one, the Circles one. Oh, there it is again. We can look. Mobile IP registration response. It happens a lot when I'm at home just because I'm in a terrible signal area. But overall, you generally will get a decent signal most of the time. I haven't had any issues with signal strength, but 3G data has been kind of spotty, unfortunately, which is not necessarily good because I get this mobile IP registration response error quite often. There's other error codes that I do get. I haven't looked too much into it and see if other people have had this error, but that's something that I've been running into. That widget I was referring to, that Circles widget, it's actually pretty cool. I like having it on my home screen. You have a clock, you have a weather, and a battery percentage there. With clock, you can have analog or digital. You can tap on it, and it will bring up all your alarms, which I love having because I always use my phone as my alarm. You also do have a weather circle there. You can flick through and you can add cities. So if you are in multiple cities at multiple times. There's also a circle for weather there. You can flick through and add certain cities. So if you are in different places throughout the day, you can figure out what the weather's like in those different places. You can tap on it and it will bring up weather and extended forecast, detailed forecast as well, all through AccuWeather.com, and it automatically updates throughout certain intervals that you can set within the settings. You also have a circle for battery. You can tap on it, lets you know the percentage, and other various usage as well from the battery. That's just about it though for part 1. I do want to cover more real world applications in part 2, such as applications. I want to run some benchmarks as well. So definitely be sure to check out part 2. I'll add some other various things, go over the camera. The camera's a big thing I wanted to cover, so I will extensively cover that in part 2. So be sure to check that out. I will link to it in the description. Be sure to subscribe to me. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. All links will be in the description of the video below. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up.